Hi. Good afternoon, Bill. The day after Valentine's. Today is the 15th of February, and I'm here in Melbourne. And the weather here in Melbourne today is wet, damp, which all the people who want rain is going to make them very happy. And I'd like to welcome you from New Zealand, where I hope it's a little warmer today, but of course the weather will change. So, Bill, over to you. How are you?
I'm great, thank you, Barry. And yeah, I didn't realise we were going to do a weather forecast, but I wasn't prepared for it. But I can look out the window and say it's overcast, Barry.
Thank God for that. Somebody's casting.
Yeah, just look. I'd just like to put some people's minds at ease, because there were quite a few precious people that commented on our last video. They probably don't realise or haven't seen the movie Pirates of the Caribbean, where one of the central characters is Bill Turner. And so I wear my Pirates hat with pride, being a cast member of Pirates of the Caribbean, Barry. And I didn't realise that the team that I support, the New Zealand Warriors, had a 666 logo on it. So for all those precious people out there who don't know me, I take the mickey out of everyone and everything, especially those powers that be, because I don't go along with their symbolism, and I don't have a problem wearing things like that. So it's all part of the Great Awakening, and it's great to see that people are starting to wake up, but don't be too precious, people.
So that hat, the hat you're wearing today, has some significance, is it?
Well, yeah, I don't know whether you can see, but it's for wild turkeys. It's for any of those turkeys out there.
I can see the wild turkey. It's looking good. We've had a lot of inquiries in relation to the PPSR. Bill, can you please explain the importance of the PPSR in relation to people who are under the impression they actually own their own property, because when the Queen went, so did Feely Simple. So what protection do you get from the PPSR, and how important is it to people?
Okay, well, you see, I think most people operate under assumptions. They assume that they own their property. They don't. They get free use of their property. But as long as the government is holding title, and I've explained before about the biblical part of that, where possession is 9/10 of the law, and the other 10th is title, which is in the Bible. And if you want to find anything, Barry, you find it first in the Bible, and then you will be able to find the statute that yep. So you want to you go to the Bible first, because that is their rule book, the rule book of how their system operates. And when you find it there, then you can go to the legislation and find it in the statutes of how they translate it from the biblical into the statute for the lawyers to follow. Because there's two sections of law. There's the ecclesiastical, which is the ones who interpret it from the Bible, and the statute, which the lawyers interpret. Now, everything is in there. Now, a lot of religious people, please don't be upset about what I'm about to say, but they believe that you can only use the King James version, or this version, or that version. Look, it doesn't matter. It's all a code. It's a code, and when you learn how to read the code, then everything changes. So what I've found is the new international versions, the code is a lot easier to crack in their versions. And once you crack that, then you can go into the legislation and find it. Now, the PPSR, what we used to have, Barry, was a court of record in Auckland, which was the Queen's Court, and you could go down there and lodge anything on in the Queen's Court. So kind of like the old town crier who went around town, and he'd go, "Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye." So 3 notices. Sorry, can you see it? 3 notices.
Yes, everything is
and
3.
Yeah, and everything is 3. So when you realize the significance of that, you put your notices into, which was virtually a public notice board, and that's exactly what the PPSR is. It's a public notice board warning people not to go near the title that you have put a security interest over. Okay, it's like a lien on the title, and so anyone who wants to come and act as a commissioned officer, and that's what, if you go back to the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, they were all commissioned officers, if you remember rightly, Barry, and they're only dealing with the dead, so they're administrating. But when you put that lien on the title and give them notice, so that if you give you must give the Minister of Economic Development notice that you have a lien over the title, so then the government won't come after you. The banks know that, they won't come after you, but you'll still get the smaller, like the Bay Corp and some of these other places who buy up debt and then go and try and claim it back off you by giving you 3 notices. And if you know what the 3 notices are, the 3 days, 3 weeks, and 3 months. If they give 3 notices, they automatically, it's a process of law, they automatically have judgment. Okay, so you must notify those people straight away that you have a claim against the title. They will then leave you alone. So if you notify the, I don't know what your office for land, we have land transport here, so you get your licenses, your number plates and all that from Land Transport New Zealand, LTNZ.
Yeah, it's called in Melbourne. It's called Vic Roads, and of course,
Vic Roads. Okay.
Yes, and Land Title Office, the Land Title Office for land, and that the Land Title Office was sold last year, and the major shareholders, the 80% belongs to the 4 banks and a businessman. So that's gone a bit furphy.
Okay, well, if you notify them, Barry, that you have a lien on the title, they will leave you alone, okay? But you must notify them. Otherwise they'll go through their processes. Now, back in 2003 was when I did the research onto the PPSR and registered myself on the PPSR, one of the, well, probably the first to do it in the sense that we're doing it now. But anyway, in 2006, I got bankrupted, and I went down to the assignee's office, and I took a copy of my PPSR filing, and I said to him, look, you realise that I have a security over this party? And he says, oh no, I've checked. And well, I thought you might say that. So I said, yeah, have a look at this. Well, he went out and he was gone for about 10 minutes, and he says, well, that'll be all for today. He said, but you might want to fill this in if you like. And I said, oh no, I don't think so. Anyway, as you're well aware, the PPSR filing only lasts for 5 years. So 2008, my PPSR filing expired, and I was so busy at the time I forgot all about it, as you tend to do when you're leading a very busy life. And they came through and they raided everything, stole everything they could get their grubby little hands onto. So the importance of the PPSR is that if you notify the people that you have a registered interest in that trust, and it's, although you say it's a deceased estate, in real terms it is a Sedicate trust. Okay, and it is, the Sedicate trust was formed over the deceased estate.
All right, it's very.
Is that cleared that up a little bit, Barry?
I hope so. That will answer the questions for a few people, and I promised to bring Tony back. Tony has the knowledge of actually filling in the paperwork, and he's already done part 1. So I hope to get Tony back to do part 2 to add the technical details, which are at this stage well and truly beyond me. And of course, you're not going to pop over to Australia to help people out personally, Bill. I did actually put on my channel that you're impossible to contact you. if it's an emergency and it's very important, email me and keep the emails down 3 or 4, one line. And if it's that important, I'll send it to you, because we both of us are retired and we just don't have the time.
Well, Barry, I get so many, I do help a lot of people in real life, and people think if they, and some of them do manage to get my email address, even though it's changed a number of times over the years. They get my address and email address, and they think that their case is so important, I've got to drop everything else, my whole life included, and come to their aid, which is why I'm putting, and you the same, putting out this information for people to do their own study and to help each other. And when they get into little groups, which is what's happening over there now, Barry, and you share the information, your knowledge increases dramatically. Now, you know, I would prefer to put the information out over this medium and get people to learn to help themselves. Now, a lot of people put on the on my website that I don't respond to messages and that. And I do that for a very good reason, Barry. I do need a little bit of downtime, because if they saw how busy I was during a typical day, helping people who have managed to get my, and I don't like turning anyone away, Barry, because it's, you know, they feel it's very important. But if they consider what I've lost and have kept going, then they'll do the same.
Yeah, it's the same for me, Bill. I mean, I try and help a few people, but the bottom line is, get the information from these videos and other videos. Brian Shaw, there's lots of really good stuff around. Mick Holt, there's lots of people putting information out there. But I think you're the guru when it comes to the law aspect, to stick with you. But you've got to help yourself. You've got to learn how to, a little bit of the language, the legal language. I don't like the term legal, but it exists. So even if it's fiction, you have to learn how to put forward your information and your case. And relying on Bill or even on me, it's rather impossible. As I said, we both are inundated just trying to keep up, and we're doing this for, not for our benefit, we know it, but we're trying to get the information out to you guys so you can look up the stuff. There's plenty of dictionaries, there's plenty of places to look, and there's lots of videos from Bill. He's got quite a lot that been going back a long time. And I started 6 years ago looking at some of your stuff, and it's the only way to go. You've got to learn from yourself. Perhaps now, Bill, if you could briefly explain, or in your terms, why it is important to set up your own ID, your own court, because that message seems to fall on deaf ears, not deaf ears, but people don't understand why it's important. If you could help us out on that one, that would be good.
Okay, well, it's more about record keeping, Barry, and the record keeping is vitally important, because that is the only thing that has kept their system in power for so long, is they have impeccable records. And so unless you start doing the same thing and keeping very, very good records and notifying them of everything you're doing, like, I mean, if people really want to know, the best way to do it is to form a church. And if you form a church, the members of that church need to keep very, very good records. But if you've ever wondered why a lot of new churches have sprung up and suddenly they've got these massive, great buildings and untold wealth, it's when you get when you get to a certain number, they tap into your trust account. Now, I mean, the same thing happens at a rest home and all sorts of different things. They tap into your trust account. Okay, and that's why the churches can do this. Now, they take money off you to make it look like they're getting the money from you for the church and that, but they're not. They're actually getting it from your trust account, your Sedeke via trust. Okay, so keeping very good records of everything you do and notifying them of what you're doing is going to be the key to succeeding in this battle. And it is a great awakening, Barry. Look, by the end of this year, it will be a very, very different world.
Well, it's happening already, Bill. You take Ireland. a minor party which a few years ago wouldn't have got a look at, and it's now got the majority of the seat or majority of votes, and it looks like it could take over government. But the ID itself, Bill, that little plastic card, how important is setting up that your own personal ID with the sending state? You're a diplomat for that deceased's name or that deceased estate, or the surname. Could you just, how important is that ID?
Okay, well, look, I don't have your acts right in front of me here at the moment, but if you can put in your title there, the Immigration Act 2009, okay, the Immigration Act 2009, if you go to the interpretation in the Immigration Act 2009, it says certificate of identity. A means a document other than a passport issued by the government of any country to any person for the purposes of facilitating that person's entry into or exit from any country, okay, being a document that purports to establish the identity but not the nationality of that person, and confers on that person a right to enter the country whose government has issued the document and includes any emergency travel document, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now it also comes under the Passports Act 1992. Now, when you look at the definition of country, Barry, it says it must have a geographical location. So when you look at geographical location and you go through to the extent of that, it means a piece of paper. So your geographical location is a piece of paper. Okay, so everything is smoke and mirrors, and that's what they've done to us. But we've thought, you know, that a state was really important. You've got the state of Victoria, but I've got a state of mind, a happy state of mind, Barry.
That's a good one.
Or if I go to the pub tonight, I might have a drunk state of mind, you know. So it's, the way they've tricked us with the word, and, you know, in the beginning was the word.
That's what it's all come down to, the word, Bill. That's pretty good, because a few people now are setting up their IDs, and as one guy is going to put it to test on Monday morning in Dandenong Court, which is going to be interesting, the results of that, because he's already removed himself from the fiction. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes ahead. So I think we've covered most of the stuff.
Barry, that's the most important thing when you get into a courtroom situation or any situation where they're trying to get money from your trust. They're not interested so much in the folding money that you get, that they get from you. They get the true credits from your trust, okay, and that's where everything is set off. So the true credits come from your Sedicate by trust. So what will happen every time is that you will get a recontract offer. Now that recontract offer is where you must be aware. Now, so in a courtroom situation, I've said to the judge when they've come back at me with something, I said, Your Honour, is that an offer to recontract? If so, may I have full disclosure? And they don't like that because they can never give you full disclosure. If they gave you full disclosure, it would be that the prosecutor is a fiction and the defendant is a fiction. It's only you stepping up and claiming to be the defendant that puts you into that role. I'd rather have a sausage roll, Barry.
Yeah, it's very important to the contract aspect, and the judges understand this, or the magistrates, they understand it. So if they pretend to go along with you, you just got to make sure that you're not Are you, they're not trying to get joined with you and bring the case, or are you trying to get entry into my estate by false means? That's probably another one as well. So I think you've covered the main subjects. I hope that gets a message across to a few people. And if there's anything you'd like to add to that, Bill?
No, I encourage people to understand what my role and your role in this is to try and simplify things so that they can then stand up, do their own study, get together in groups and work together, because it's the working together in groups that's going to be the bring in the new covenant. Okay, so we will have to probate this covenant, which, if you remember, the Old Testament was the last will and testament, and that was the testament of Moses, but Jesus probated that and brought in the New Testament. So anyone still living under the Old Testament is living under a false illusion. The New Testament is for the age of Pisces, but there will be another testament brought in every 2,000 years. This changes, and this will be the age of Aquarius. So the New Testament, I don't know who will bring that in. Maybe Trump, it may be someone else. I have no idea. But the New Testament is where we get the 1,000 years of peace.
Yes, that'd be nice.
The enemy is not the media. We are our own enemy. Okay.
I led it to that, Bill.
Okay. The moment we wake up, then we're no longer an enemy to ourselves, and we start to question everything. And that's what they fear the most, Barry, is that the people waking up, and that's what we're trying to do by putting these videos out to wake the people up. And I applaud you for what you're doing, Barry.
And you too, Bill. You've been doing it for the last 20 years, where I've only been doing it for the last 6. And at 74, I have a hell of a job learning with this technology and this. It's the young people we need to get. And it's funny, I have been targeting a few young people, and they're interested, and that's a good sign. And it's funny, like it was the younger generation in Ireland that voted for Sinn Féin. The older generation would see Sinn Féin as a part of the IRA, which of course the IRA has no longer exists. There may be people who'd like to think there is, but they've gone, they've given up. And the young generation that voted in for Sinn Féin, which is a very promising look. But we have to look at the young people, and we have to remember when all this happened on our watch, and how hard it is to get that information across to people. And eventually we will. I think 5 minutes is as much as people can watch and they've fallen asleep, and I hope we haven't sent too many people to sleep. I'd like to thank you again for coming on to London News and spreading the good information, and we'll catch up. And as far as Kevin Arnott, he's having problems with Zoom today, so we couldn't get him. I'll have to have a chat with him off air on the phone line, because I think Canada may be having problems with Zoom in general. It may be just Kevin. Anyway, Bill, thanks for coming on, and wave to everybody goodbye.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on, Barry, and keep up the good work over there and keep waking people up.
Okay, Bill, bye for now. Stop.